Welcome to RV Advisors All Things RV podcast. I am your host, Kathy Conrad. I've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for 6 years, and I love helping new RVers realize their RV dreams. This podcast is about RV education, resources, adventures, and the amazing people who love RVing. It's also about discovering the freedom RVers experience, the connection with nature we are all so grateful for, and how RVing enriches our lives. On this podcast, you can expect us to talk about all things RV, including the good stuff, the challenging stuff, and everything in between. So join us weekly for solo episodes, interviews with industry leaders, and other RVers. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. And if you're new here, thanks for joining us today. Today I have Kate White with the RV Queens podcast and the RV Queens Circles community. Kate's a former designer who never imagined she'd be living in an RV or homeschooling her kids. But in 2022, she and her husband left their suburban life in Omaha, Nebraska to travel the country in search of a new place to call home. Instead, they discovered a thriving community of people embracing a non-traditional way of life. Inspired by their stories, Kate launched the RV Queens podcast to connect, support, and celebrate high-achieving women who are building businesses while traveling full-time. She believes RV life isn't just about adventure, it's a path to greater freedom, flexibility, and a life designed on your own terms. Welcome to All Things RV Podcast, Kate. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. I'm excited to be here.
Good. My pleasure. So, you made a huge pivot in 2022. What was the turning point that made you and your husband say, all right, let's do this? How long did you ponder before you pulled the trigger?
We're kind of in the camp of people that are a little on the crazier side. You meet a lot of people as a full-time RVer, and they'll
Absolutely.
give details of, behind why they got into the lifestyle. So it was in July of 2022. Me and my husband were like kind of in one of those unsettled phases. We had been property managers, like living in a neighborhood for free, but like we weren't really enjoying the management gig anymore. And so we were trying to decide if we were going to buy, if we were going to rent, if we even wanted to live in Nebraska anymore. And just kind of like one of those unsettled type seasons where we just didn't quite know what we wanted to do with ourselves. And we had been homeschooling the kids. Me and my husband were both self-employed, so we were already used to this lifestyle of, is pretty much a lifestyle of freedom, except it was just, connected to a house in a neighborhood. And I remember the day I was sitting on the kitchen floor with my son Teddy, who was like probably 4 at the time, and we were, I don't know, playing cars or something. And Drew came in from a walk and he said, okay, I have this crazy idea. What if we just buy an RV and travel around the country and just kind of like see where we might want to live? And I go, are you serious? Because I'm going to get really into this. And I was just like all in. I was like, yes, because of the two of us, my husband is more of the homebody and I'm more of the I always want to be out traveling and adventuring and like doing things. And so for him to come to me with that idea of traveling full time, I was like, yes, I have to take this inch and run for miles with it. And so literally from July of 2022, we were like nonstop, like just full immersion, deep dive into what it means to go full-time RV, looking at RVs, like just figuring all this out. We ended up buying a truck and fifth wheel combo, pre-owned off of Craigslist. We did not have it inspected, which was a huge problem down the road, but little did we know. We had never used an RV before. And we left Omaha, sold everything that we needed to, found, like transitioned that management gig to someone else and left in September of 2022. So it was
Wow,
very quick,
very
but
fast.
it just felt to us at the time, it was like, it just felt right. Like it just felt like our next adventure. And yeah, here we are 2.5 years later, still rocking it. It's not at all what we thought it was gonna be. It's actually way better than we thought it was gonna be.
Well,
And
that's good.
yeah, we really only anticipated being on the road 6 months, so, you know, you hear that story
Wow.
a lot.
And now 2 years. Wow. And so opposite for us, we weren't expecting to be so long in RV.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So interesting. So I know some of the hidden gems already because I've experienced them, but I think that we all start out thinking about adventure and all the places we want to go and see. But what we don't, I don't think it ever crosses our minds is the people that we'll meet, which
Mhm.
is like that hidden gem is the community. That's my experience. And we've made
Oh, yeah.
lifelong friends with people that we've camped with. So
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much everybody I talk to is like, yeah, it never occurred to me of the people
Oh,
we
I
would.
know,
And you
because
have this.
well, and for us, we really, like, honestly, we did not even know other families were doing this. There's a lot of people that have the story that I've met where they follow RV influencers for a long time, and then they're like, "We can do this. Let's just go." We didn't even know that world existed at all. Like, had no idea. We all we did was look on YouTube on, like, how to buy an RV, what do you need? Like, it was not a glamorized thing in our minds at all, except for the travel part, like you said. And we really just thought this was something retired people did. And so it was like shocking to us how many
Yeah,
families we've met
yeah,
and, you know, other just high caliber, high quality, wonderful people. It's great.
yeah. Designing their own life. That's, you've got so much more in common than you realize. And I think that's why
Mhm.
it's so easy to make friends. What was the biggest challenge that you encountered in that, making that transition, and how did you handle that?
Well, the practical RV stuff, like I told you, we had no idea what we were doing, was very challenging. And I think we actually made a huge mistake when we went and picked up this RV and we brought it back to the house that we were like, moving out of. Luckily, it had a super long driveway, but it was sloped. And so we parked, like, we backed the RV up, and on fifth wheels, like, the front legs are called landing gear for people that don't know. And we extended the landing gear legs, like, as tall all the way up as they could go. And we had it sitting that way for probably, I don't even know, 2 or 3 weeks before we launched. And I'm pretty sure at that time we bent the legs because we were able to retract and get them up like when we first departed from our home base. But then the very next stop, and that, we stopped for a couple nights at a place. And then when we tried to take off, we had problems like with our legs coming up, which, as you know, means you literally can't move. Like, you can't, if you're booked at a place and you're like, well, I can't move my RV, it's like, well, it's a huge problem. So we caused ourselves that problem, which cost us a lot of money paying for RV repair people. And then the fact that we didn't have the RV pre-inspected caused us a lot of headaches too, because once we got down the road a while, um, we discovered that there was like a patch of the floor that was mushy and soggy, and one of the windows leaked, and which, was not disclosed to us. And the ceiling, or sorry, not the ceiling, the roof, part of it needed patchwork, like just practical RV stuff that we had no idea about. It was a very challenging first 3 months with regards to like the practical RV life. Yeah.
Which is why I do what I do.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
painful to see that happen to people.
Yeah, if only we could have
Um,
known you back then.
I um, so so you were homeschooling before you left in the RV. So you were already kind of had a rhythm to that.
Yes, and it was it was like a weird time because my daughter was in kindergarten during the COVID madness. And then so for example, like the spring of 20 when everything closed down, that was supposed to be like her kindergarten graduation, and then fall of 20 was supposed to be her first grade year, And so we had gone through like school and out of school and then like trying I mean, we were just like what is even happening with the world and education right now. So it was kind of like a hot mess of a couple years, and I never thought I would be like a homeschool mom type person. I love kids, and I've always liked kids and babysat, but I've never thought I would want to homeschool until like those years. I was like more reflective and kind of looking into education systems and all those kind of things. And we decided as a family, yeah, this homeschool thing probably makes the most sense for us right
Yeah.
now. And we kind of just leaned into it on the road because, you just have to.
You're already in the
Yes.
swing of
Oh,
things.
yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I think even though my kids were young, we had already tried public school and we had tried unschooling and we had tried private school for like a semester. Like, even though it was a short amount of time, like we already like kind of experimented with a lot of things and
Yeah.
found that, yeah, unschooling or sorry, homeschooling is going to be like probably our sweet spot right now.
So what surprised you the most about the people that you met? I know that you said you were surprised to see families expected to see all retired people.
Hmm. Yes.
What else?
That was a big surprise. So those first 3 months that I mentioned that were kind of challenging, we didn't know about different types of RV camping, and so we were in a lot of, like, higher end RV resorts.
Yeah.
Man, we just blew through so much money those first few months, and, I mean, there were except for one family I remember we met in the Florida Panhandle that said they were full-timers. Besides that, everyone else we met was retired. And this was December of 2022. I remember we had planned to camp on the beach in Navarre, Florida, I think it was. And I told my husband, I was like, we got to find some friends for these kids because, you know, they're going crazy and I'm going crazy and we just need to socialize a little bit. And so I found the full time families group and I canceled our beach reservation and I booked us a week at this meetup for families, and
Mhm.
it was in the middle of North Florida in a podunk little town, and my husband was like, "What? We're going where? I thought we were gonna be on a beach. These people are gonna be weird." And we just, like, gave it a try, and that week honestly changed everything for us about full-time RVing because we met other families, and it wasn't the stereotype that we thought it was gonna be, which let's just talk about that. The stereotype of full-time RVers is retired people, which is great, or you're kind of like a hippie nomad,
Yeah.
and that's great too. But we met other people that were like kind of high achieving, well educated, very thoughtful, intentional people that we just did not expect, like to connect so much with so many people that we met on the road.
Yeah.
It was very surprising
I'll bet
and
it was
very
super refreshing.
refreshing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh my
Oh my
god,
gosh, yes.
we're not
I know.
alone."
I know. And that first meetup, some of the families we met there and some of the friends that our kids made, they've stayed our closest friends like over the past couple years from that very first meetup. So it was wonderful.
So, did you ever feel, like, kinda isolated and, like, "What am I doing?" And your kids?
Yeah.
They weren't
Oh, yeah.
getting the social interaction that they were needing, and
Yeah, I mean, we're a pretty social family, so we had been proactive about planning our route in cities where we knew people or had
uh,
family. And so it hadn't been like a completely lonely and lonesome.
lost.
We also stay very connected with our families. We like to use the Marco Polo app for that. And, so it didn't feel like we're all alone in the world. Honestly, part of us leaving Omaha was like we kinda, like, needed a break from, like, all of the social circles and stuff
Yeah,
that we were in at the time. Um, so we try to be very intentional about, "Okay, we're gonna see some friends along the road, but we also just need to, like, focus on our family unit and make our life a healthy culture to be in." But there was a time, yeah, like I said, about 3 months in that I was like, "All right, it's time to pursue some new friendships here."
yeah. You're finding your way.
Yeah,
So with it
exactly.
so that's gotta be really a cool experience for your kids as well, being on the road, learning while you're on the road. How do you I'm going off a little bit on a tangent, but I'm just so curious. How do you
Sure.
what directs your educational, for lack of a better word, curriculum? Because I know that's kinda doesn't fit with completely what you're doing, but
Sure. Oh, girl, we have
style or
tried
teach.
so
Yeah.
many things. Yeah, we've tried a lot. So, to start, we at the time, Winnie was, I think, 8, so she was going into, like, 3rd grade-ish or so. And my son Teddy was 5, so he was just kinda starting, like, letters and sounds and words and numbers and stuff. So, Winnie is the one that I told you about that had we had tried all the different school landscapes with her,
Mm,
and she is a very creative kid that's very self-motivated. So for her, um, I have used actually what we learned when she was in a private school called Acton Academy. They do a great job of like student-led goal setting, and then the teacher and like me as a parent is considered kind of the guide for the student and like what are they passionate about learning, because I didn't want to snuff out her creativity and like her love for learning. And we did try some very regimented curriculum and it was like whoop, the light went out. Like she hated all that. Okay, new approach. So she's always kind of had a very self-directed, like I help her set goals and then she decides what she wants to study each day in kind of her core subjects that we set. And it's been kind of cool, just kind of collaborative process. My son, since he's younger, like that first year, it was me being kind of like kindergarten teacher mode, which is pretty easy and fun. And I loved that so much. Like that was so fun to be a part of him learning how to read, and those first, math days when he's like the light bulbs are going off, like how math works. And oh, that year made my heart so happy. Um, and he's a little more, what is the word for him? Organized?
mhm.
Organized and rule follower. So for Teddy, I'm kind of like, okay, here's what we're doing each day. And he just does it. He just sits down and checks the boxes and then he's done and he's happy. And he doesn't care if what mom tells him to do. He's like, okay, I guess that's just what I need to do. There's no kickback like perhaps there is from the older
Uh-huh.
child. So it's definitely been an evolution, a learning process, and very specialized to each kid and what they need.
But what a gift that is for your kids to be able to have that opportunity that they each get to learn in their own style. Because if they're in public school, that's not happening.
I know.
They
I hope so.
Oh,
That's
I don't
to
know.
me that's the hardest part of being a homeschool mom is like, hope I'm not messing them up.
No, there's no way. There's no way. So I want to dive a little more into your business and the podcast and your community, which I belong to Kate's RV Queens community, and it's just amazing. And I'm always so impressed that the wheels are always turning, and she's always um, creating new uh, get-togethers and just really supporting the community in so many different ways. And I so appreciate that. And it's just like the experience I had yesterday. I actually got to meet in person another RV Queens member, which I'm across the country from everyone else. So I'm always missing out, right? When they have get togethers. But it was just such a great experience because we are on the Wednesday working group together to meet her in person.
Mhm.
So thanks for that. I think you've done an amazing job. Creating your community and your podcast is so fun,
Oh,
and
thank
have a
you.
lot of really
I'm
neat people on there. So let's
Thank you
dive
so much.
in. It's, to run a business and a podcast, especially working in a small space and trying to record. I live that every week. But what challenges have you faced building the podcast and building the community while traveling, and how do you work through them? And you're innovating all the time, which is to me is really impressive, and it's evolving and changing, and you're improving it all the time. So share with us
Okay.
what keeps you going through that.
Sure. Well, I mean, so many directions I could go with this. Let's just start with the central idea of the podcast. It started out honestly as a hobby because about a year or so before we hit the road, I had taken a course on how to start a podcast, and it had just kind of like been cooking in my idea or in my brain as an idea. And if you don't know yet, like I'm an idea person. It's actually hard for me to like turn my brain off. Like I just always have ideas.
No, that's really
And
obvious, Kate. You're an idea person. If you think people don't notice, you're very much an idea person.
yeah,
I don't know you that well.
I
Like,
figured it probably came through, but just had to say it for the listeners that don't know me at all. Okay, so when we got on the road, the story I just told, we had this fantastic meetup, connected with a lot of families, and I was so impressed, especially by the women on the road that I had met who were, I mean, juggling so many things. As a full-time RVer, most parents are homeschooling. A lot of parents, like one or both parents, are still working from the road. And you got the domestic duties of normal life. Obviously, like, you don't have a housekeeper or a laundry help or, like, anything. There's just, like, there's no babysitters, there's no nannies, there's no school that you're gonna drop the kids off. It's, like, all you, all the time. You gotta keep all the boats afloat, right? And so, I didn't see any content online highlighting the women of full-time RV life and their incredible backstories and how they manage these lifestyles. So that's when I started the RV Queens podcast in April of 2023. And I just started it as a hobby because I wanted to learn how to be a podcaster and I thought it seemed cool. And in my past life, I had a little bit of experience with interviewing. And so I felt really comfortable running an interview based podcast and it was really fun. And about 6 months into that though is when I realized like, oh, the opportunity to create a community, online community for these women to connect with each other. Ding, light bulb, hello. There's a lot of like Facebook groups and there's the full-time families group that has the, you know, meetups throughout the country. There's escapees and escapers and a lot of groups facilitating, in real life meetups. But I couldn't find anywhere online that facilitated like real actual conversation with what I call high achieving women living this lifestyle, or also overachievers. I have come to find out is kind of a lot of a similar trait to all the women in the community. It's like, wow, you're trying to do like 10,000 things today. Like props to you. Yeah, we're all in that boat. So that's when I launched the RV Queen Circles, which is kind of online community portion of RV Queens. And the reason it's different from the other online communities in the space is it's based on the Marco Polo app, which is basically video texting. And so I facilitate where all of the RV Queen Circles members are put into new small groups on Marco Polo every month. The first Monday of the month, you get put in a new Marco Polo group. And it's like, without being in person, it's face to face conversations with this small group of women about the lifestyle, about a business you're running, just, how women are. We just get on there and like share life. And it's like so refreshing to have a place to just talk out life, kind of like you would be doing if you lived in a sticks and bricks with your girlfriends that live next door in your neighborhood. It's kind of like that, except for women that travel full time. The other thing I wanted to note about running a podcast and online community is the practical side of it. A lot of people ask me how I manage this on top of, homeschooling and all the things. Me and my husband, because we've run our own businesses since 2020. We had already been in the habit of scheduling out our weeks and really like, I'm not kidding. Every Sunday we have what we call a marriage meeting, and we like block out the week, and we know who's doing what when. Obviously there's hiccups some weeks, or like a meeting gets added, or blah blah blah, whatever. Normal life happens, but in general, we go into the week feeling prepared on like how we're going to juggle everything this week. And that is my number one piece of advice, and also like hidden gem for married people, especially if you are going to be traveling with kids. It's so helpful to just like be on the same page with just schedules and who's doing what when you're traveling.
That's awesome. That really is. I can see where that would make your life a whole lot more manageable.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
yeah, that's
big
like
time.
food prepping on steroids, right? You're doing your whole week of
Life
all.
prepping. Yes. Yes. I
Yeah.
try to, speaking of food prepping, man, that's a big portion of this life too, that it's like you still got to put dinner on the table every day because it gets expensive quick to eat out all the time,
Mm.
and also not good for your gut. And so, yeah, food prepping when you only live in an RV and we don't have an exorbitant amount of pantry space or fridge space or freezer space
Or counter space.
or
You-
counter space. Yes. Yeah. Lots of challenges there too, but it's overcomable.
Yeah. But that's amazing. That's great advice. Great advice to do that. I can see
I
where
hope
that
so.
would be hugely beneficial because just the added chaos of people in a small space, that alone is like can really knock you off balance, I think, because
Yeah.
and working, you're both working from home.
Right.
Who sits where, what time, what hours do you work? When do
Well,
you
yeah.
have to stagger that, your work time? Do you stagger
Oh,
that?
100%. Yeah. And we've just kind of like gotten to our own weekly cadences where, my full-time, what I consider my full-time role is mom and homeschooling and, like the domestic stuff for the most part. I'm not saying I do everything. Like my husband cooks and cleans and all that, but like buying the food. And I honestly think a woman's brain just like holds some there's just like these little cavities in a woman's brain that like holds information in a different way than a man's. Like if you came to me right now and you said, "Do you have pasta and sea salt and um saltines and milk?" I would be like, I would know exactly what we have and where it is. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
my husband would be like, I don't know. Like, probably. Like, we've just
Yeah.
played to our strengths. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, so like the scheduling, our current arrangement, and like probably every 6 months, we kind of make an adjustment to it, is I have 2 mornings out per week where I work out and I also like do work. on behind the scenes work on the podcast, like whatever needs to be done. And then I try to only schedule one podcast recording per week because my husband and my kids are out. Like, I'm like, get out of here. I can't focus and record a podcast with you also in the RV. So, you
I
know,
hear you.
just lifestyle wise, it just makes the most sense for to limit it to one per week. But then Drew, on the other hand, like he tries to just have one, Zoom meeting per week, or sorry, not per week, per day, because me and the kids are out of the house. Like, and to have to come up with blocks of time, I'm like, gotta get creative. What are we gonna do today, kids? Which, on one hand, I think that's good. On the other hand, it's kind of challenging. So, like, it's kind of like a give and take. And that's why it's so important for us to sit down and schedule out our weeks to know who's doing what when and who needs the camper when and who's meeting and all those kind of things.
And you hope the weather cooperates if you have outdoor
Oh, yeah,
play.
that too.
Oh, I guess we're going to the mall today.
Yep. But we're not getting anything.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh my gosh. So, Kate, you have a lot going on. You're a busy lady. How do you balance the demands of your family, your business, your travel planning? Um, how do you do all that without losing yourself? Just being a mom, it's so easy to lose yourself being a mom,
Mhm.
but you're not just being a mom, you're all these other things. How do you not lose yourself? How do you maintain that life balance?
Wow, this is a great question and very relevant for this year in particular because this has been like a decade long evolution for me. I am the type, especially since becoming a mom, and my daughter's 10 now, which is why it's a decades long evolution. Um, I I am the type that like puts myself on the back burner by default. Like I'm like, is everyone else fed? Is everyone else happy? Is everyone else? Do you guys want to play that game? Fine. Like I don't. I'm just like I just want everyone else to be happy and like keep the peace, right? But then you know how this goes. If you have any listeners that are the same type of personality, it's kind of like martyr ish. What happens is I get to a point where I'm like I like have a little spaz out because I'm like the inside, like I'm not taken care of. Like, if I get to a point where I've been focusing outside on everyone else for too long, it's like it's not sustainable. And finally, I am learning this, and I'm learning how important the daily and weekly habits are to just keep yourself, fed emotionally, physically,
Mhm.
spiritually, all the things. And I know I've mentioned this a couple times already about how important the schedule is. And I
Mhm.
mentioned that like I got those 2 mornings out um per week. That's kind of like how our schedule works right now. And this year is the first year that I've really focused on working out. And I have
Mhm.
found a lot of like, I don't even know why it helps mental health. I just feel less
It
stressed
does.
when
Mhm.
it's not even like I'm running marathons. I'm literally just lifting a few weights and doing stretches, and I'm not super hardcore. And I'm not super hardcore about my diet, but I do watch my macros most days. And just like the physical health on the mornings that I don't work out, I'll do yoga or I'll read some inspirational or nonfiction, or I'll do journaling, or I'll just like have some sort of like me time. And it's not always like I went to the mountaintops and I feel like the most inspired human on the planet. But because I know what happens if I don't maintain those habits, like I've gone to the bad side. Like I've been like, okay, burnout. It's basically preventative measures
Yes.
that I know I have to take, um, And you know how life is. Sometimes there's weeks when we're traveling a lot or some family issue comes up or somebody's sick. Like I'm like flexible with it. But for the
Mhm.
most part, I have finally come to realize that I just have to fit in those times for myself to just
Yep.
stay sane and healthy and not be a grouchy person.
That's so true though. You're spot on. I'm glad that we all have to take care of ourselves or we're not any good to anybody else, right?
Yeah,
So good for
that's right.
you for doing that. And thanks for sharing. You're blocking out the time for yourself,
Hmm.
knowing that
Yeah,
if you don't do it, it doesn't end well. So
that's right. And we
it's a good
all know what
lesson to
that
learn.
means.
So I'm going to ask you another question. So looking back, what advice would you give Kate in 2021 before you hit the road? What advice would you give
Ooh.
yourself?
Wow. I would say I would tell Kate from 2021 to lean into what feels good because back in city life, it is really easy when you're, you know, in the daily routines like we used to be. We lived in a city. We got up and we did the things and we took the kids to places and and then there's like a family event and a kids event and it's very rushed and I felt overwhelmed a lot, I think. I didn't realize it until we started traveling and like the pace of our life slowed way down. But I would tell Kate to lean in to actually what feels good and makes you happy, not what you think is expected of you. Real life
Yeah.
example of this is me and my husband have talked like for years and years before RV life about how we don't actually enjoy Thanksgiving. I don't know if anyone else can relate with this. It has just always felt like um what's the word? An obligation, right?
Mhm.
It I don't know. Why we love our family members, but it's like I don't like the food. We just sit around, we eat food that we don't really like, and it's like, meh. So, like, I wish I would have been like, hey, Drew, let's go take a trip or, lean into these feelings whenever you're meeting other people's expectations. Let's come up with some creative ways to navigate that conversation. Like, hey, we're not going to be at Thanksgiving this year. We're going to fly to Florida instead. Come up with some
Yeah.
creative solutions that will make you happy.
It's a great holiday to go do something because you have 4 days
Yeah,
off. You could actually
right.
go somewhere and do something. We would go camping on Thanksgiving.
See, I
There
love
was
that.
at some point I liked all the cooking and all that, and the food was good. But at some point, and I swear it's after I was vegan for a while, and I don't know why, but then after I kind of started integrating meat back in, Thanksgiving didn't taste good anymore. And that's so I totally relate to what you're saying. And
Yeah.
you spend all this time cooking and
Oh
then
my gosh.
it
So
didn't
much.
taste so good anymore. So then we started going camping.
Yeah.
That
And
was
who
so much
cares
better.
when
Yeah,
you're camping?
right.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. So one other quick question, because I know you are a visionary and I see you always evolving. I've seen the time for the period of time I've been in Queens, I've seen this evolution of great vision and ideas come to fruition. So, what dream or goal are you still chasing on your RV journey, whether it's with your business or your personal life?
Hmm. Well, we started out originally looking for a new city to land in. And I mean, I think we're still figuring out what that vision is because now that we've met so many travelers, we realize we don't have to be so bound to one destination. What if our life now looks like having a home base that we like still travel throughout the year to different
Mhm.
places or What if, even though we're not retired, what if we're snowbirds, or what if I don't know. So, and then we're also very inspired by the families that are international travelers. And is that something that we'll go do for a year or two? Or is that another thing that we'll just like try out, for weeks at a time? I don't know. So I can't totally answer that, especially on the personal side, because we take it kind of a year at a time and
Yeah.
we're kind of just feeling out, how the kids are doing, what they need, me and Drew, how our business is, how we're feeling with everything. Our parents, there is the reality of like our parents are getting a little older.
Yeah.
So like I don't think we're ready to like up and move to Norway tomorrow, even though I think that'd be super fun. But I don't know, maybe in the future. We're still kind of figuring that
We'll
out.
figure it out.
Yeah,
That's all right. It's a good thing. You're living in the moment. Hey,
that's right.
that's a good way
Trying
to
to.
live. Well, how can my listeners, if they are interested in joining RV Queens, how can they find you? How do you sign up? Um, and are you still doing just the memberships at a certain time of the month, or is it more open now?
Great question. Okay, so rvqueenspodcast.com is kind of the hub of all the information. rvqueenspodcast.com/community is like specifically where it's all about like the RV Queen circles and the online community. It is open all the time. You can join anytime now. However, if you join, well, this week in particular, it's the last week of the month. That's kind of when I encourage people to promote it, like affiliates and other partners and stuff. I encourage people to promote it more the last week of the month, because on the Monday of the new month is when I like put people into those small groups. So you can join anytime and you can have access to the members only site. We can drop you in all of our groups and events and all the things. But the small group, is kind of like the
Yeah.
heartbeat of the community. Those will be formed the first Monday of every month.
Great. And I'll make sure I put all this information down in the show notes. And I have an affiliate, I'm an affiliate. I have
That's right.
yes, so I'll promote it. This
Yes.
podcast, my
Yeah.
husband.
Don't go to the link that I just said. Go to the link in the show notes so Kathy can get a kickback.
Oh, thanks, Kate. So anything else you want to share about your community, about your podcast?
Hmm. I just think, especially for those who are aspiring RVers that are listening to this and either are thinking about getting on the road, um, planning to, or are even new on the road, I just want to encourage people that it's going to be okay. It seems very overwhelming, like in the beginning and when you're in the research phase, and because the actual experience of getting out there and moving the rig and parking the rig and all of the practical stuff, when you just read about it on the internet, it's like, oh my God, there's everything that I have to remember and that I have to do. But once you get in, it I mean, it only takes a week or two, honestly, to like get into the rhythms and get into like, all right, this is what we're doing here, It's not as difficult, I don't think. I
Did you?
mean, maybe if you buy an uninspected rig off of Craigslist, it's as difficult as it seems, but it'll be fine.
Yeah. You survive and you make
Yeah.
mistakes along the way. You learn
Yeah.
things. And there's a lot of super helpful people out there in the RV
Yes.
community as
Oh
well.
my gosh, yes, and, like, even at campgrounds, this is a trick I've learned, and I'm not kidding you, it works. Anytime we, like, need a part that we don't have to fix something, or, I don't know, have whatever issue that comes up, I tell my husband to go out and open the hood of the truck, and then it's like all the nice old men in the campground are like, "What are you doing?" I'm not kidding. It's like
Oh
magic.
my God,
And
that's
then he's
so
like,
funny.
"Oh, I'm just looking at the thing. Hey, do you have any size three and a quarter inch wing nut, like whatever you need?" People
Yeah.
are so helpful. Everyone wants to help. So it's great.
Yep. That's funny. Put the hood up. Oh my goodness. Well, I so appreciate you coming on. And I really encourage, I have actually my demographic is a little different. I have more men listeners than I do women. Can you believe
Ah,
that?
great.
That's surprising to me. But any of my lady listeners out there, I would encourage you to join because you know I've been doing this for a while, and it was really nice to come across Kate's community. It's very very cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or
Very
men that are listening, tell
yeah.
any
Tell your
RV ladies in your
wives.
life. Yeah.
You
Give her
get-
some friends to gab to.
Yeah. No kidding. It's awesome. So I so appreciate you coming on. It's been fun, and I appreciate you and all you do with your community, and I love being a part of it. So thanks
Oh,
for
it's my pleasure. Absolutely, Kathy. Thank
that.
you so much for having me on today and also being such a fun part of the community. I love it.
Oh, fun. Alrighty, thank you. And just check down in the show notes. We'll have all of Kate's information there so you can catch up with the queens and connect yourself up with a whole bunch of very inspiring women for sure. Awesome. Kate, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I had a great night with you. It was fun. It felt
Yeah,
like we
you
just
too.
had a whole evening together.
Yeah, pretty much did. Thanks, Kate. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for tuning in today to RV Advisors All Things RV Podcast. Please join us again next week for more RV education, resources, adventures, and interesting people. Until then, wishing you amazing adventures, safe travels, and I hope to see you on the road.